Amazon definitely has some. All right, so we live in a internet age. It's kind of hard to deny. Everyone knows these 4 internet service providers, and they provide internet to your phone or laptop like you would usually get, or from any smaller companies that use their basic connections through cell towers and stuff. But what if I told you, as early as December 14th, that you woke up to this screen when checking social media? Well, this is exactly what Portugal is seeing right now. Because there is no net neutrality. And so what this basically says is that they already pay for their internet, except these all come in relative packages based on the apps or websites that they want to visit. So this is translated roughly, just think of it as like $5 a month. So $5 a month for each to visit their basic things. So you have a social package, etc. Well, we're seeing that today in the US. The FCC is trying to get rid of Title II of the Communications Acts of 1939. And what that basically says is that ISPs are able to take your connection and then infringe more on it, because the internet that we live in is more fair use. And this is basically what I described. Right now, this is how the internet is today. The second one is how ISPs would be without Title II. And this gets into the conversation of net neutrality. So what is net neutrality? Net neutrality is basically that you can go on the internet, and with the data that you're provided from your ISP, you can do whatever you want. You can go on Facebook, you can go on YouTube, you can just do literally whatever you want. Well, this becomes a problem. We see it in an article by Joshua Gans where he says that net neutrality infringes on the rights of both corporations and citizens, depending on if it's strong or weak. So for strong, we're given our basic right, which it is now. It infringes on the right of corporations because they don't control what they can do with the data that they give us, the consumers. Well, if it's weak net neutrality, we can't do what we want with the data that's given to us that we paid for. So there's problems on both sides, and we see that from another article from Simone Friedlander. This actually happened roughly almost 3 years ago. So net neutrality was a big issue around 2.5 years ago because the Obama administration put in the open internet order, and this basically tried to keep net neutrality free for everyone. Well, this is being brought up because the Trump administration is trying to tear down everything that the Obama administration put up, specifically being stated around like 2 weeks ago. So the FCC is looking back onto it because ISPs are more on the prowl, if that makes sense. So what happens if we don't do something? In easier slang, we'll become kind of like Portugal. So this is an image taken from Hong Guo's article, and is better translated in an article by Shane Greenstein, which basically says that you pay for what you get, but even if you do, it's not fair. So you, the user, pay towards the ISP. And the ISP, depending on the terms that they are with certain websites, have a slow lane and they have a fast lane. So for the slow lane, let's say Verizon. So Verizon is on bad terms with Netflix, but good terms with Hulu. So let's say you wanted to go, or you pay Verizon and you pay for your package. Let's say you wanted to go see Stranger Things 2, because you haven't caught up and that's what you're into. Well, it's still gonna take forever to load, because for whatever reason, Verizon is on bad terms with the developers of Netflix, so it's gonna slow down. But they're on good terms with Hulu, so if you go on Hulu to watch whatever you want on Hulu, it'll just load a lot faster, if that makes sense. So still not being fair, though you did pay for the separate package and the internet itself. So how many people will this affect in the US? So it'll affect 286 million, roughly 287 million. This was determined by a census by the International Telecommunication Union, the World Bank, and the United Nations. And this was as of last year. This is how many people used the internet last year in the US. When comparing it to the US, that's 88.5% of the US. Guaranteed all of us have used the internet. We just live in that age. So what can we do? So John Oliver, he made a big episode on this 2.5 years ago, and actually rebrought it up 3 months ago. So he has this link called Go FCC Yourself. You can go that, and you can leave a comment on the FCC basically stating how you feel, and all you have to say is that I support a safe and secure net neutrality. You can also go to Battle for the Net, where you can just enter your name, email, and address, and it'll send a giant paragraph to your local congressman, because the FCC is the Federal Communication Commission, so it's regulated by the government. If you send it to Congress, they have the power to actually deny the destruction of net neutrality. Same if you text resist to 50409. I'd advise you do this after class because other people are giving speeches, but this is literally less than 2 weeks that this could happen. The internet's in a rage, but if you do this right now, it's blown up on Reddit, it's blown up on Facebook, it's blown up on Twitter. If this happens, then we'll have, it's going to be harder for us to live in this age of information, and we're actually being limited. If this works out like it did 3 years ago, and the FCC doesn't take this away, then we could live the age of the internet, the age of information. Once again, thank you.